To be here today with Shelley Brown from York Centre and our leader, Mr. Stephen Duca. Stephen understands the problems that so many of us are facing today, and he is offering bold and concrete action. Electors have a choice this election. We can either continue to vote for a Conservative government who will continue to cut with chaos, or we can offer solutions, real, bold solutions to Ontarians with the Ontario Liberal Party platform to make Ontario a place to grow again. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Stephen Duca. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. Really appreciate it. Well, good morning, everyone. I am so very happy to be here, technically in Humber River Black Creek, but right beside York Centre, to be standing alongside Ida Lopretti and Shelley Brown, both of whom are working so hard in each of their communities, at the doors, have been for months, talking to their neighbors, talking to the hard-working families of both Humber River Black Creek and York Centre about what we need in Ontario right now more than ever. And the hard-working families in both of these communities understand that we need a government that is truly on their side. The new Ontario Liberal team with our new Ontario Liberal plan that will put workers and their families at the centre of all of our decision-making, that will support an economy that builds up true economic dignity, and that will end the cuts and the chaos and the havoc that have been the hallmark, if I can put it that way, of the Ford Conservatives and how Doug Ford has approached governing this province. Now, some will know that I've been an observer of politics and around politics for some time. You know, I can remember a time in this province when the Conservative Party was actually on the side of small business and small business entrepreneurs, when they truly understood that you got to support the mom and pop operations, those stores that literally are all over this province, that give the communities that we all love their character. You have to give them help. You have to give them support because, first of all, as I said, they give our communities their character, but they also employ thousands and thousands and thousands of Ontario workers. They help literally light the spark that fires Ontario's economy. They are the engine. That was the Conservative Party of my youth. That was the Conservative Party that we watched, I think back to the years of Bill Davis and others. But Doug Ford just doesn't get it. Doug Ford has lost his way. Doug Ford, throughout the past 4 years, but in particular during the past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, has repeatedly, when he's had a choice to continue to stand with small business owners, he has repeatedly chosen to side instead with giant retailers, big box retailers, giant corporations, all of his buddies who are some of his biggest political donors. And why? Because he's lost his way. Because he's only ever been interested in himself, his political fortunes, his re-election chances, instead of caring about the people like my mom, who late in her career made the decision, like so many small business entrepreneurs do, made the decision to take that calculated risk and open up her own shop, in my mom's case at Toronto's St. Lawrence Market. Our family saw literally how for those years that she ran that business successfully, my mom poured her heart and soul into that undertaking. How she found people to hire who loved working with her, how she managed a payroll, how she dealt with the paperwork that's required, how if any one of her workers couldn't make it on a particular day because they weren't feeling well, she stepped in. No rest. That's literally what our small business entrepreneurs do day in and day out. And again, throughout this pandemic, when Doug Ford as Premier had the chance to be on their side, all he dished out were empty words, empty rhetoric, while he continued to be on the side of big box retail and giant corporations. Doug Ford has made his choice. He's made his choice and his priority very clear. Ontario Liberals would make a different choice. We would support small businesses. We would put them at the center of a sustained and successful economic recovery. We want them to be at their best, not only so that our main streets and our communities are strong, but so that our economy actually protects them, helps build them up, helps supports workers and their families. That's why in our plan, In our plan, we make it crystal clear that the hardest hit small businesses during this pandemic will not have to pay any corporate income tax for 2 full years. We're going to make more loans available to small business entrepreneurs. Right now, the average small business entrepreneur debt load, because of COVID and because of how Doug Ford abandoned them, is hovering around $190,000. That is crushing, a crushing debt load to carry if you're a small business entrepreneur. And you've witnessed Doug Ford turn his back on you repeatedly. We're going to make loans available to help support that debt that they are carrying, to help them deal with it. Because we want more small business entrepreneurs to take that calculated risk the way that my mom did. We're going to make sure that the incorporation fee is waived. It's gone altogether. We're going to do this. We're also going to take the provincial HST off the cost of all prepared foods below $20. That's really good for the affordability crisis that people are facing right now, but it's also going to bring more traffic, more customers into those small businesses that sell those prepared foods. Taken together, the Ontario Liberal plan brought forward by Ida and Shelley and the rest of our new Ontario Liberal team will again make sure that small business entrepreneurs have real support and real leadership at Queen's Park. And we as a team will never abandon you. If you're right now in Ontario and you run a small business, we will never abandon you the way that Doug Ford has repeatedly as he's chosen to support big box retail and giant corporations every single day of the week. We, again, will make a different choice, and this election is about that choice. 4 more years of being dragged down and dragged backwards by the Ford Conservatives, or moving forward with a fair and fully costed and forward-looking platform of ideas that we brought forward to make this province once again a place to grow. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, so we've got reporters on the ground and also on the line today. So we're going to start with reporters on the ground. I just ask folks to go up to the mic so everyone can hear your questions. And we'll start with Andy Takagi from QP Briefing.
Morning.
Morning, Andy.
The NDP recently had Jagmeet Singh to fill in for Andrea Horwath during her COVID isolation. Justin Trudeau endorsed your predecessor, Kathleen Wynne, in 2018. Why haven't we seen Trudeau with you?
Look, I know in every single riding across this province that I've been to, including in my own riding, our federal counterparts, federal MPs, have been out there knocking on doors, supporting the Ontario Liberal candidates that we have, extraordinary candidates that we have. I'm pretty sure that's happened here in Humber River Black Creek with Judy Scrow, and right next door in York Centre with Yara Sachs. It's happened again in my riding. It's happening right across Ontario. I think that there is a clear sense, again, since the leader debate, I should say in particular, a clear sense that there is momentum coalescing amongst progressives in this province who want a real plan to make sure the province is a place to grow, and that is coalescing around Ontario Liberals, and that's because of the new team. That's because of the plan that's fully costed, fair, and forward-looking. It's because people see that there's a reason to have hope. There's a reason to understand that the only way to stop Doug Ford and the only way to elect a truly progressive government at Queen's Park is to choose the new Liberal team in our plan.
You've criticized the NDP for changing their platform. One of those changes was a doubling of the ODSP rate in their second year. You're now the only party, along with the PCs, to have a ODSP rate that's promised to be lower than the rate was in Mike Harris's government, adjusted for inflation. How do you explain that to ODSP recipients who are calling for a doubling of the ODSP rate?
So let's be crystal clear about how much fiction the NDP platform is. When you've been leading a party for 12 years and you've had the same length of time since the last election that Ontario Liberals have to put together a plan to put in front of the people of Ontario, and inside of 3 or 4 weeks, you have to update and revise that plan 7 times. I think that's the last count, 7 revisions in 4 weeks. When you're not prepared enough, not responsible enough to release platform costing at the same time as your policies come out, when you keep talking about new surprises you might want to unveil during the election campaign the way Ms. Horwath has, I've said this repeatedly. Ontario families have had nothing but cuts and chaos and havoc for 4 years from the Ford Conservatives because Doug never had a plan. And even if he had one, he doesn't have the capability to stick to one. And now Ms. Horwath wants people to embrace the same approach to governing this province. No real plan, written on the back of a napkin, revising as they go, making it up as they go along. I just don't think after the 4 years that we've had, anybody in this province is up for taking that kind of risk. That is one of the other reasons that there is momentum, in particular amongst progressives, that is coalescing around the Ontario Liberal plan and the Ontario Liberal team. And on ODSP in particular, let's remember, The Ontario Liberal plan will double the ODSP rates over 2 years. We will then raise the maximum that can be earned before rates or benefits are clawed back from $2,400 up to $6,000. We'll protect for inflation, but we will also be, and we're the only party pledging this, a 19-point affordability plan that will also help ODSP recipients when they take public transit because of Buck a Ride province-wide, when they go into a store and purchase prepared food under $20 because they'll save 8%. If they are a vulnerable senior, they have the potential to get $1,000 in an old age security pension top-up. And Ontario Liberals will once again start the Basic Income Demonstration Project so we can gather the information, because we all know Doug Ford callously canceled the basic income pilot, though he promised to keep it in place. We will gather that information quickly in a responsible and a well-informed way before we make decisions about how to further modernize and support those in Ontario who are vulnerable and need that support.
Hi, Stephen.
Morning.
Holly Mackenzie Cedar with Canadian Press. I wanted to ask about the autism treatment section of your platform that commits to needs-based autism treatment with no age caps for all kids who need it. With about 50,000 kids in the province who need services, are you certain you can accomplish that with the $600 million, the budget, or would you consider spending more?
Yeah, so again, we have included in our plan, again, from day one, fully costed, the dollar figure that you just mentioned a second ago. I've had the chance, before becoming leader and since becoming leader, to hear directly from families that are struggling so much because of the promises that were made but were not kept by the Ford Conservatives on dealing with autism supports and services. So I am very comfortable, based on all of the research that we've done, including collaborating with those who are on the front lines who are struggling in this regard, that what we've included in our plan, our fully costed plan, will get us to where we need to be as it requires, or as we need to be as it relates to those who require autism services. I also want to point out, in our plan, we include hiring up 5,000 new special education professionals in our publicly funded school system. That's more than one special ed professional per school in Ontario, again, to help make sure that those kids that have some challenging circumstances or some exceptionalities actually have the support that they need. But yes, we are convinced that our plan does, in terms of our costing, accommodate what's required to deliver on this commitment.
Thanks. And I want to follow up about the Chatham-Kent-Leamington candidate and the allegations from the NDP that there were fraudulent signatures used to sign them up. I think we understand now that Elections Ontario is looking into this as well, and the NDP is calling on you to pull the candidate. Are you going to do that?
I'm going to let Elections Ontario do the job that they're supposed to be doing. They'll do their work. I will continue to focus on the positive, forward-looking plan that Ontario Liberals are bringing forward, and I suspect Ms. Horvath will continue to do what she's done for a year now, which is not to take the fight to Doug Ford, but to spend almost all of her time attacking me and attacking Ontario Liberals. I think that's deeply disappointing for progressives in this province, but I can't handle, or I can't govern, I should say, how she will handle herself or her team will. We'll remain focused as a team on our forward-looking, fair, and fully costed plan that will deliver real progress for Ontarians.
Last week, when you got asked about this, though, you basically dismissed it as not legitimate and wouldn't even comment on it. Like, do you have...
No, what I said last week was Elections Ontario has a responsibility. They'll do their work. I will continue to do the work that I believe will convince Ontarians that I have what it takes to be their next premier, and that our team has what it takes to deliver on the plan that we have laid out from day one. I suspect that we will continue to see attacks from Ms. Horvath and her team against us, rather than what we're doing, which is taking the fight to Doug Ford, because, for example, he's abandoned small business entrepreneurs time and time and time again, in particular during COVID, because he favors giant retail and giant corporations. So we're going to focus on building up small businesses. The NDP will keep attacking us. The Conservatives will keep catering to their buddies and their donors. We'll actually focus on the people of Ontario.
Okay, we're going to go over to folks on the line. I'll pass it over to you, Will.
Okay, just a reminder to reporters on the line, if you could please raise your hand using the Zoom function, and I will add you to the queue for a question. And I'll just give it a couple seconds.
No problem.
Okay, your first question is from Alan Hale from Queen's Park Today. Go ahead, Alan.
Hi, Stephen.
Morning,
I was
Alan.
wondering why you decided to come to these two ridings today. What are you hoping to make gains here? Why come here today?
Well, I was actually in York Center just yesterday. Shelley and I were over at a Filipino restaurant, Cabelin, I think it's called. Cabelin, yeah, where we actually got to try my hand at the grill. I got to taste some of what we were making yesterday afternoon. It was delicious. I've been here in Humber River Black Creek previously, not during the RIT period, so I'm thrilled that I'm here today with Ida. Ida has a phenomenal track record in publicly funded education as a leading school trustee here in this community. So thrilled to be here today. I know how hard both of them are working, how hard they have been working. I also know how keen they are, like I am, to support small business entrepreneurs, to make sure they have the supports that they need to thrive, instead of what we've seen from the Ford Conservatives, which is literally just always backing up big box retail and giant corporations at the expense of our mom and pop shops. That's not good enough. Shelley and Ida are working so hard, and they will both make great champions at Queen's Park.
So what is the plan for the last week of the campaign? I guess it's now officially a week away from Election Day. Where are the areas you're going to be focusing on? Where are you hoping to see gains? What's the strategy here?
Well, look, as I said earlier, and I've said repeatedly, there is no shortcut to success in life. I learned that from my parents and my grandparents. It's only about hard work. I believe, and I see this every single day with each passing moment, that there is more and more momentum amongst Ontario voters for the new plan that this new Ontario Liberal team of ours is putting forward. When we talk about our 19-point affordability pledge, when we talk about the fact that our plan's responsible and fully costed and has been from day one, when we talk about how we're going to make life easier, how we're going to invest in public education, make seniors care real, public health care versus private the way Ford wants to do it, there is a very clear sense of, again, momentum that's coalescing around this team and our plan, and we're just going to keep working hard. So whether that's in Humber River Black Creek or York Center, or where I'm going to be this afternoon, or where I'm going to be over the next 7 or 8 days, just about the hard work and earning trust every single step of the way. But most importantly, it is crystal clear at this moment in the campaign that there is one way to stop Doug Ford from getting 4 more years to undo and destroy the province that we love, and that is to elect a strong, progressive, Liberal government with team members like Shelley and Ida and the plan that we have to deliver progress starting on day one.
Okay, and there are no more questions on the line. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.